The thunder cracked like a judge's gavel, splitting the sky over Monroe, Texas, and hurling sheets of rain against the barn's tin roof. Nevaeh froze mid-step, her boots sinking into the hay-strewn floor, as Clara's hand clamped over her mouth, not gently, but with the desperation of someone drowning in plain sight. "I can't hide anymore," Clara whispered, her voice breaking like the lightning outside. Eyes locked on Nevaeh's in the dim lantern light, where the shadows danced like accusations long overdue. In that suspended breath, the world narrowed to the space between them, the scent of wet earth and aged wood, the distant lowing of cattle huddled in the storm's fury. Nevaeh's heart hammered, not from the gale rattling the doors, but from the weight of those words, words that had simmered unspoken for 2 years, ever since that humid July evening when Clara had first brushed her fingers against Nevaeh's in the church potluck line. Now, with the storm sealing them in like conspirators, the truth spilled out, raw and unfiltered, pulling Nevaeh under its current. She lowered Clara's hand slowly, her own trembling as if the touch might shatter them both. The barn, once a sanctuary of shared secrets, stolen glances over fence posts, hurried embraces behind stacked bales, felt suddenly like a confessional booth under siege. Nevaeh had always known this moment loomed, a specter in the quiet hours when she'd lie awake in her family's creaking farmhouse, listening to the cicadas' dirge and wondering how long they could outrun the town's unyielding gaze. Monroe wasn't forgiving, it was a patchwork of dusty roads and Sunday sermons, where folks like her, raised on Bible verses and family legacies, learned early that some loves were sin's best buried deep. Clara pulled back, her breath ragged, wiping rain from her cheek with the back of her hand. She was soaked through, her cotton blouse clinging like a second skin, but it was her eyes that undid Nevaeh. Stormy gray, pleading for absolution they both knew wouldn't come easy. "I've been engaged 6 months now, Nev," Clara said, the words tumbling out as if the thunder had loosened her tongue. "To Harlan. You know, the banker from over in Tyler. Daddy's idea of a match made in heaven, steady job, good name, the whole damn script." Nevaeh swallowed hard, the hay scratching at her throat. Harlan. The name alone conjured images of pressed khakis and forced smiles at the county fair, a man whose world orbited bank ledgers and Chamber of Commerce luncheons. She'd seen them together once, arm in arm at the Harvest Festival, Clara's laugh too bright, too practiced, like a melody played off-key. It had carved a hollow in Nevaeh's chest, one she'd filled with long rides on the family gelding, galloping until her lungs burned, pretending the wind could scour away the ache. "I know," Nevaeh murmured, stepping closer despite herself, the lantern's glow casting their shadows long and entwined on the wall. "Mama mentioned it at supper last week. Said it was about time you settled down proper." The word proper hung between them, laced with the town's invisible chains, expectations woven from cotton fields and oil rigs, where women like them were meant for aprons and altars, not the quiet fire that ignited in hidden corners. Clara laughed, a bitter sound swallowed by another rumble of thunder. Proper. God, if they only knew. She reached for Nevaeh's hand again, lacing their fingers with a familiarity born of midnight drives down backroads, where the radio's static drowned out their whispers. It had started innocently enough. Clara, the schoolteacher from the wealthier side of town, volunteering at the community center where Nevaeh helped with after-school programs for the farm kids. A shared love for Faulkner novels, traded dog-eared copies under the guise of lesson plans. Then came the touches. Accidental at first, a brush of knuckles over shared coffee, evolving into deliberate presses in empty classrooms after hours. But Monroe watched. Always. The whisper started subtle, glances lingering too long at the diner, Nevaeh's truck parked overnight in the church lot after a youth group meeting. Juliet, Nevaeh's older sister, had cornered her once, Bible in hand, eyes sharp as barbed wire. "You ain't right with the Lord, Nevada folks are talkin'." Juliet, married to the feed store owner with 2 boys already, embodied the path laid out for them. Duty over desire, legacy over longing. The storm intensified, wind howling through cracks in the barn walls, sending dust devils swirling at their feet. Nevaeh pulled Clara into the alcove behind the tack room, where old saddles hung like forgotten promises. "What do you want from me, Clara? To run? To what? Pack up and head for Austin like some fool dream." Her voice cracked, the fear she'd buried rising like bile. Nevaeh's life was anchored here. The ranch her daddy had built from scrubland, the weight of his fading health pressing her to stay, to inherit not just the acres but the unspoken code of endurance. Clara's grip tightened, her thumb tracing circles on Nevaeh's palm. A ritual from their stolen nights. A Morse code of stay, stay, stay. I don't know. But pretending. It's killing me. Every time I look at him I see you. Every kiss feels like theft. Tears mingled with rain on her face, and Nevaeh ached to wipe them away, to press her lips to Clara's temple and promise the impossible. Instead, she leaned her forehead against Clara's, breathing in the faint lavender of her soap, a scent that had haunted her dreams since that first real kiss under a harvest moon. Outside, lightning forked the sky, illuminating the rolling hills scarred by drought and time. Monroe sprawled at their feet. The white-steepled church where Clara's engagement had been announced to applause, the general store where old-timers swapped stories of glory days when men were men and women knew their place. Nevaeh's family had scraped by on this land for generations, their name whispered with a mix of pity and pride. Hard-working, God-fearing, unbreakable. To shatter that would be betrayal, not just of blood but of the soil itself. Yet here in the barn's cocoon the world felt negotiable. Clara's free hand cupped Nevaeh's jaw, tilting her face up, and for a moment they simply breathed each other in, the salt of sweat, the tang of fear. "Remember the river?" Clara asked softly, her voice a thread in the gale. The Guadalupe, lazy and wide, where they'd picnicked last summer, shedding clothes and inhibitions in the water's embrace. Nevaeh had floated on her back, Clara's laughter echoing off the cypress knees, and for those hours the town's judgment had dissolved like mist. "I remember," Nevaeh replied, her own tears pricking now. That day had been a prelude, a taste of freedom sharp as stolen whiskey. But reality had crashed back. Clara's father's stern calls about responsibilities, Nevaeh's mama clutching her rosary during evening prayers, murmuring about the devil's snares. The engagement ring on Clara's finger was noose-tight, a symbol of the class divide that ran deeper than dirt roads. Clara's family with their manicured lawns and college educations, Nevaeh's with calloused hands and inherited debts. The door rattled violently, a gust threatening to burst it open, and they sprang apart, hearts pounding. Nevaeh grabbed a pitchfork, jamming it against the latch, while Clara pressed against the wall, chest heaving. False alarm, the storm's tantrum, not discovery. But the interruption lingered, a reminder of fragility. "We can't keep doing this," Nevaeh said finally, the words tasting like ash. "Not with the wedding 3 months out. Harlan's decent, Clara. He don't deserve." "Deserve?" Clara's voice rose, edged with the desperation of cornered prey. "What about us? What do we deserve, Nev? To choke on silence while the world parades its lies." She paced the narrow space, her boots kicking up hay, agitation mirroring the chaos outside. Nevaeh watched, torn between pulling her close and pushing her away, for safety, for sanity. In the lantern's sway, memories flickered. Their first fight after Juliet had spotted Clara's truck too near the ranch at dawn, the makeup in a motel on the outskirts, bodies tangled in sheets that smelled of bleach and regret. Each moment a brick in the wall they'd built, high and hiding, but cracking under the pressure of what lay beyond. As the rain eased to a relentless patter, Nevaeh sank onto a bale, exhaustion settling like dust. Clara joined her, shoulders touching, the contact a lifeline. "Tell me how it started for you," Clara urged, voice softening. "Really started. Not the river. Before." Nevaeh hesitated, the vulnerability a chasm, but the storm had stripped them bare. Words followed suit. "High school," she began, gaze distant. "There was this girl, Riley, from the debate team. Smart as a whip, always quoting poetry in the halls. I thought it was admiration, you know? The way my stomach flipped when she'd smile my way." She paused, the ache of youth resurfacing. Riley had left for college, a ghost in yearbook photos, leaving Nevaeh to wrestle her confusion alone. Prayers and empty pews, confession swallowed whole. Clara nodded, understanding etching her features. Her own story was woven with similar threads. A mother's sidelong glances at tomboy phases, a father's pride in her ladylike pursuits. They'd bonded over that shared fracture. Two women navigating a town that prized conformity above breadth. The night wore on, thunder fading to grumbles, their conversation a dam against the flood. They spoke of futures uncharted, of Austin's bustling streets, where whispers might drown in crowds, of letters they'd write if separation came, ink stained with what couldn't be said aloud. But beneath it all pulsed the unspoken. Betrayal loomed, not just of Harlan or families, but of the selves they'd armored so carefully. By dawn's gray light seeping through chinks, the barn felt less like refuge, more like reckoning. Clara stood, smoothing her damp clothes, resolve hardening her jaw. "I'm not marrying him, Nevada. Not if it means losing this us." The declaration hung bold and brittle. Nevaeh rose, pulling her into one last embrace, the scent of rain clinging to them both. "Then we fight for it," she whispered, though doubt gnawed at her edges. As they slipped out into the sodden world, the storm's aftermath a mirror to their own, wreckage and renewal intertwined, Nevaeh wondered if freedom's price was one they could pay. The sun clawed its way over the horizon, painting the Monroe skyline in reluctant gold. As Nevaeh guided her truck down the rutted lane toward home, Clara's taillights had vanished minutes ago, swallowed by the mist-shrouded road to her family's estate on the hill, the divide between their worlds etched in asphalt and ambition. Nevaeh's hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, replaying the barn's confessions like a reel stuck on loop. "I can't hide anymore." The words echoed, a siren's call laced with peril. Back at the ranch, the air hung heavy with coffee and regret. Mama was at the stove, her apron dusted with flour from biscuits she'd never eat, her eyes shadowed by Daddy's latest doctor's visit. "Storm kept you out late, child," she said without turning, voice a gentle probe wrapped in routine. Nevaeh shrugged off her jacket, hanging it by the door like a shed skin. "Help in with the horses. They get skittish." The lie slid easy, practiced, but it lodged in her throat today, barbed with Clara's truth. She poured coffee, black and scalding, and sank into a chair, the wood groaning under her weight. The kitchen was a time capsule. Faded calendars from seed companies, a cross-stitched home is where the heart is, that now felt like mockery. Daddy shuffled in, cane tapping a slow metronome, his once broad frame whittled by illness. "Heard the thunder shook the devil loose," he rasped, settling across from her with a nod. Ezekiel Harlan, no relation to Clara's intended, thank God, had poured his life into this land, wresting cotton and cattle from reluctant soil. Nevaeh traced the lines on his hands, maps of labor and loss, and felt the inheritance settle heavier. Not just deeds and debts, but the creed of stoic survival. "You look troubled, Nev," he said, peering over his mug. "Something brewin' besides the weather?" She met his gaze, searching for the man who'd taught her to rope calves at dawn, who'd spun tales of granddaddies riding with the Rangers. "Just thinking about the future, Daddy. What it costs to hold on." The ambiguity was deliberate, a veil over the chasm inside her. He chuckled, dry as autumn leaves. "Everything worth having costs, girl. But family? That's the anchor. Don't let storms drag you adrift." His words, meant for the ranch, landed like prophecy, stirring the guilt that had rooted in her since girlhood. Nevaeh had always been the steady one. Juliet the firebrand, eloping young and returning with regrets. Nevaeh the fixer, mending fences literal and figurative. After breakfast, she escaped to the fields, the geldings' hooves churning mud as they cut through pasture still slick from the deluge. The landscape unfolded in familiar strokes, barbed wire stitching earth to sky, silos standing sentinel against the horizon. Monroe's beauty was understated, a quiet poetry of live oaks draped in Spanish moss, but it bound like kudzu, beautiful, tenacious, choking. Her mind wandered to Clara's world, the manicured lawns of Elmwood Heights where lawns were mowed weekly and scandals hushed with endowments. Clara's father, Judge Harlan, yes, that Harlan bloodline, presided over the county courthouse like a monarch, his rulings as unyielding as his views on traditional values. The engagement wasn't love, it was ledger, Clara's teaching salary bolstering the family name, Harlan's stability a shield against whispers of her eccentricities. Nevaeh reined in near the creek, dismounting to let the horse drink. She sat on a fallen log, skipping pebbles into the current, each plink a punctuation to her thoughts. Their story hadn't been fireworks, it was embers kindled slow in the mundane. That potluck 2 summers back. Clara in a sundress the color of ripe peaches, handing Nevaeh a plate of deviled eggs with a smile that lingered. You read Absalom, Absalom? She'd asked later, under the strung lights, as fiddles wailed from the bandstand. Nevaeh had nodded, stunned. Faulkner was her secret vice, pilfered from the library's dusty stacks, pages dog-eared with marginalia about lost souls and forbidden kin. They'd talked until stars pricked the sky, the crowd thinning around them. When Clara's hand grazed hers in farewell, it was electric, a spark that smoldered through lonely nights. Weeks turned to months of careful orbits. Coffee at the diner after Nevaeh's shifts at the co-op, drives to the river where words flowed freer. The first kiss came on a bridge over the Sabine, moonlight silvering the water, Clara's lips tentative then fierce, tasting of sweet tea and surrender. This is us, she'd murmured against Nevaeh's neck. No one's business but ours. But secrets festered. Juliet had smelled it first, her sister's sudden silences, the unexplained absences. You're playing with fire, Nev, she'd warned over porch swings one evening, rocking babies to sleep. Town like this eats its own. And Mama. She couldn't bear it. Juliet's own marriage was a patchwork of compromises, her husband's wandering eye overlooked for the sake of appearances. She spoke from scars, urging Nevaeh toward safety's shore. Nevaeh kicked a stone into the creek, watching ripples spread. Safety. The word soured now, a cage disguised as comfort. Clara's text that morning. Miss you already. Last night changed everything. Burned in her pocket, a talisman against doubt. But change in Monroe was a double-edged blade. It cut paths to light or deeper shadows. Afternoon brought chores. Mending a fence post splintered by wind, the hammer's rhythm a bomb. Sweat beaded on her brow, mixing with dust, as she worked under the relentless sun. The labor grounded her, a tether to the earth that had shaped her. Hands that healed soil couldn't heal a heart divided. Could they? Dusk fell soft, painting the sky in bruises of purple and orange. Nevaeh showered off the day's grime, emerging to Mama's call for supper. The table was set simple. Cornbread, greens simmered with ham hock, stories of neighbors' woes. Heard the judge's girl is set in a date, Mama said, passing the salt. Fine match. Harlem boys got prospects. Nevaeh's fork paused midair, the food turning leaden. Yeah, fine. The syllable carried the weight of unspoken pleas. Don't make me choose, don't make it real. That night sleep evaded her. She lay in the attic room, moonlight slanting through gauzy curtains, the house settling around her like a sigh. Dreams came fragmented. Clara in white lace, Harlan's hand claiming what wasn't his. Nevaeh running through fields that dissolved to chains. She woke gasping, the clock glowing 2:17, and reached for her phone. A message from Clara. Can't sleep. Thinking of your hands on the wheel, steering us somewhere safe. Attached was a photo, the barn door at dawn dew kissed, a symbol of their fragile pact. Nevaeh typed back, we will. Somehow. But as she drifted off again, the somehow loomed vast, riddled with what-ifs. The storm had broken open the sky. Now it threatened to flood the foundations they built on sand. Days blurred into a tense rhythm. Nevaeh threw herself into work. Early mornings branding calves, afternoons tallying feed costs that never quite balanced. The ranch demanded her body. Clara claimed her soul. They met in fragments. A hurried lunch at the edge of town, fingers brushing under the table. A note slipped into Nevaeh's mailbox, poetry scrawled in Clara's looping script. Juliet cornered her one humid afternoon, cornering her by the clothesline where sheets billowed like ghosts. Saw you with her at the market. Folks notice, Nevada. And with the wedding come and dot. Her voice trailed, heavy with the burden of protector. Juliet had always been the shield, absorbing blows so Nevaeh could breathe. But now her eyes held fear, not judgment, but the raw terror of watching a sister shatter. It's not what you think, Nevaeh lied, pinning a shirt with more force than needed. The fabric tore slightly, a small violence mirroring her turmoil. Juliet sighed, folding a towel with deliberate care. Then what is it? 'Cause it looks like you're courting heartbreak. And for what? A woman who's half promised to another. The question pierced, exposing the class chasm Juliet rarely named. Clara's world of lace curtains and legacy, Nevaeh's of grease-stained overalls and grit. Nevaeh turned away, the sun hot on her back. Love, Jules. It's love. The admission hung, stark and unadorned, the first time she'd voiced it aloud beyond the barn. Her sister stilled, then reached out, squeezing Nevaeh's arm. Love's a luxury we can't afford here. Not like that. The words were kind, but they stung like salt in wounds. A reminder that in Monroe, love bent to society's mold or broke. As evening deepened, Nevaeh saddled up again, riding out to the ridge overlooking town. Lights twinkled below. The courthouse spire, the neon sign of the roadhouse where Harlan no doubt drank with buddies, toasting his future. Clara's home glowed distant, a beacon and a barrier. She urged the horse faster, wind whipping her hair, chasing the illusion of flight. But gravity pulled. The pull of duty, the drag of desire. In the gathering dark, Nevaeh whispered to the stars, "Show me the way." The answer came not in thunder, but in the quiet certainty that paths diverged, and choice waited like a loaded gun. Weeks slipped by like pages in a wind-tossed ledger, each day etching deeper lines of anticipation and dread. The engagement announcements had hit the local paper. A grainy photo of Clara and Harlan beaming under the headline "Local Educator to Wed Promising Financier." Nevaeh had stared at it in the co-op's break room, the newsprint blurring through unshed tears, until a coworker clapped her shoulder with oblivious cheer. "Your friend's doing all right, huh? Time flies." All right. The word mocked her during long afternoons in the saddle, patrolling fences that marked invisible boundaries. Nevaeh's world contracted to the ranch's rhythms. Dawn feedings where chickens pecked at her boots, evenings mending harnesses by lamplight, her mind adrift on Clara's latest missive. "Meet me at the old mill. 9 p.m. Bring your courage." The mill sat abandoned on the town's frayed edge, a relic from cotton boom days, its will long stilled by the river's whim. Nevaeh arrived early, parking her truck behind a thicket of willows, the engine's tick fading into cricket chorus. Moonlight silvered the water, turning the structure into a skeletal silhouette, and she paced the gravel, nerves frayed as old rope. Clara emerged from the shadows like a specter, her figure outlined against the mill's yawning door. No ring tonight, she'd left it home. A small rebellion confided in a late-night call. "I told Harlan I needed space," she said by way of greeting, voice low but steady. "A weekend away with girlfriends. He bought it. God help me." Nevaeh pulled her close, the embrace fierce, inhaling the familiar mix of jasmine and resolve. "Space for what?" "This." She gestured to the mill, the river, stolen corners that sustained but starved them. Clara's laugh was soft, tinged with mania. "For truth. For us." She led Nevaeh inside, where moonlight pierced cracked windows, dust motes swirling like confetti in a forsaken hall. They spread a blanket from Clara's car, a picnic of contraband. Wine from a hidden flask, cheese and bread wrapped in wax paper. It felt illicit, a mockery of dates they'd never have. Candlelit dinners in Austin cafes, hands clasped openly over dessert. As they ate, words poured. Clara's rehearsals with her mother, practicing vows that tasted like ash. Nevaeh's vigils at Daddy's bedside, where his coughs punctuated tales of harder times survived through sheer will. "He looks at me like I'm the future," Nevaeh confessed, wine warming her veins. "Like if I hold steady, the ranch holds. But what if steady means dying inside?" Clara traced her knee. A touch both comfort and kindle. "Then we redefine steady. Together." Her optimism was a flame Nevaeh envied, forged in books and classrooms where ideas outpaced reality. Clara had always been the dreamer, quoting Whitman on Soul's Electric, while Nevaeh grounded them in the practical maps of escape routes, tallied savings from odd jobs. The night deepened, conversation ebbing to silences filled with river murmur. Clara leaned back against a beam, pulling Nevaeh down beside her. Their kisses started slow, exploratory, building to a hunger that echoed the storm's ferocity. Hands roamed with memory's map, charting familiar territories, but tonight carried urgency, a farewell to pretense perhaps. Afterward, spent and tangled, They lay staring at rafters webbed with shadows. I broke it off, Clara whispered into the quiet. With Harlan. Tonight before I came. Told him I couldn't. That it wasn't right. Nevaeh bolted upright, heart slamming. You what? Joy warred with terror, the news a grenade in the dark. Clara sat up, 2 eyes fierce. I can't build a life on his terms. Or Daddy's. It's you, Nevada. Or nothing. The declaration trembled, brave but brittle, and Nevaeh pulled her close again, tears salting their skin. But elation soured swift. He'll tell. The judge. The whole town. Monroe thrived on such ripples. Engagements snapped like dry twigs, fueling gossip mills that ground reputations to dust. Clara nodded, unflinching. Let them. I'm done hiding. Yet doubt flickered in her gaze, the class armor cracking. Her father's influence could blacklist Nevaeh's family from loans, turn neighbors' nods to stares. They dressed in the chill, the blanket folded with care, as if ritual could ward off fallout. Driving back separately, Nevaeh's truck lights cut the fog, her mind a whirlwind. Clara's act was a gauntlet thrown. Now came the scramble. Morning brought repercussions like aftershocks. Juliet called before coffee, voice hushed over the line. Harlan's spittin' mad. Says Clara's lost her mind, runnin' with some undesirable influence. You know anything? Nevaeh's pulse thundered. Undesirable? That's rich comin' from him. Defiance masked fear. Juliet's silence stretched, heavy. Be careful, sis. Daddy's a skin questions. And Mama. She's prayin' double. The click of the receiver echoed like a door slam. At the ranch, tension coiled. Daddy spent the day in his study, bills spread like battlefield maps, while Mama moved through chores with furrowed brow, her rosary beads clicking a frantic beat. Nevaeh avoided eyes burying in work, repairing the irrigation ditch clogged by storm debris, mud caking her jeans like camouflage. By noon, whispers reached her via the feed delivery boy. A lanky kid with ears for scandal. Heard the judge's daughter's calling off the wedding. Something about a girl from the wrong side. His grin was all teeth, innocent cruelty. Nevaeh's shovel bit deeper, dirt flying. Wrong side. The phrase encapsulated it. The invisible line dividing Monroe's haves from have-nots, where love crossed at peril. Her family teetered on that edge. Daddy's illness draining coffers, the ranch a gamble against weather and whims. Afternoon sun baked the fields as she drove to town for supplies, the general store a neutral ground buzzing with subdued chatter. Old Mrs. Thibodeau nodded coolly behind the counter, her afternoon deer laced with probe. Nevaeh loaded her cart, nails, wire, a bag of coffee, each item an anchor to normalcy. Outside, Clara waited by her car, sunglasses perched like shields. It spread fast, she said, voice pitched low. Daddy's furious. Threatened to cut me off. Nevaeh glanced around, the parking lot a stage for unseen audiences. And Harlan. Drunk at the roadhouse, nursing his pride. Clara's attempt at levity fell flat, exhaustion carving hollows under her eyes. They risked a coffee at the diner's back booth, steam rising like smoke signals. We need a plan, Nevaeh urged, stirring sugar she wouldn't taste. Talk to your folks. Mine too. Rip the bandage. Clara's hand found hers under the table, a defiant link. Tonight. Dinner at my place. Neutral ground. Her smile was tentative, a bridge extended over abyss. Nevaeh nodded, though nausea churned. The drive home wound through oak tunnels, leaves rustling omens. At the ranch, Juliet waited on the porch, arms crossed. Spill it. Nevada. Harlan's kin just drove by, given looks like we stole their silver. Nevaeh dismounted, facing the Inquisition. It's me, Jules. Claire and me. We're together. Her sister's face crumpled, not in revulsion but sorrow. Oh, honey. She pulled Nevaeh into a hug, fierce and fleeting. You just lit the match. Evening loomed, the sky bruising to twilight. Nevaeh dressed plain jeans, a button-down rolled at sleeves, armor against judgment. Mama hovered as she left, worry etching her features. Whatever troubles brewin', child, remember grace. The Harlan estate gleamed under lanterns, columns casting long shadows like fingers beckoning. Clara met her at the door, hand squeezing hers before the threshold. Inside, the air thickened with formality. Judge Harlan at the head, face thunderous, Mrs. Harlan fluttering with iced tea and apologies, Harlan himself absent, a ghost in his chair. "Sit," the judge barked, gesturing to the polished table. "We might as well air this farce." Clara's grip tightened. "Daddy, this isn't a trial." "Isn't it?" His voice boomed, echoing off crystal. "You've shamed us." "For what?" "A dalliance with the ranch hand's daughter." Nevaeh stiffened, the slur landing like a slap. "With respect, sir, it's more than that." He turned, eyes narrowing. "Respect? You've poisoned my daughter against her future. Against decency." The word ignited Clara. "Decency? Forcing me into a marriage I don't want? That's your decency." Mrs. Harlan interjected, voice quavering. "Clara dear, think of the family. The church. What will they say?" "They'll say what they always do," Clara shot back. "Judge not, lest ye be judged." Nevaeh's heart raced, the room closing in. She spoke up, voice steady despite the quake. "We love each other. That's the truth you're sidestepping." The judge's laugh was ice. "Love? A fancy word for ruin. You'll leave my home. Now." Clara rose, defiant. "I'm going with her." Chaos erupted. Please shouts, a glass shattering on oak. Nevaeh pulled Clara toward the door, the night air a gasp of relief. But as they fled to the truck, headlights pierced the dark, Harlan's car engine roaring. He blocked the drive, spilling out with whiskey breath. "You bitch," he snarled at Clara, then turned to Nevaeh. "This you're doin'? Seducin' her like some." Nevaeh stepped forward, chin lifted. "Back off, Harlan. It's over." He lunged, fist swinging wild. Clara screamed. Nevaeh dodged, the blow glancing her shoulder. Adrenaline surged. She shoved him back, hard against the car hood. "Touch me again, and you'll regret it." Sirens wailed distant, neighbors roused. Harlan retreated, cursing as blue lights flashed. The judge appeared, face ashen, pulling his would-be son-in-law away. In the aftermath, Clara clung to Nevaeh, sobbing. "It's done. All out." Nevaeh held her, the ranch calling like a dirge. The explosion had come. Now the fallout would bury them, or unearth something unbreakable. The scandal unfurled like a slow poison through Monroe's veins, seeping into every corner by week's end. Church pews buzzed with veiled barbs during Sunday service, congregants' eyes sliding toward Nevaeh like arrows notched. She sat rigid in the family pew, Mama's hand of ice on her knee, Daddy's coughs masking his confusion. The sermon on fidelity twisted like a knife, Pastor Reeves thundering about vows unbroken, his gaze lingering on the Harlan's empty bench. Afterward, in the fellowship hall, avoidance was the new currency. Old acquaintances nodded curtly, plates of fried chicken untouched beside Nevaeh's elbow. Juliet hovered, herding their nephews away from whispers, but even she couldn't shield from Mrs. Thibodeau's cluck. Such a shame. Fine girls, both. But the flesh is weak. Nevaeh fled to the truck, engine roaring defiance as gravel spat under tires. Clara waited at the river bend, their new sanctuary, where willows wept into the current. "They cut my hours," she said without preamble, skipping stones with vicious flicks. "School boards concerned about parental complaints. Daddy pulled strings." Nevaeh sank beside her, the bank cool under palms. "Daddy's talkin' to the bank. Loans in jeopardy," says the judge, hinted at moral risks in partnerships. The words tasted of betrayal, not just from Harlan's but from the town that had cradled them. Clara's stone sank deep, ripples mocking their calm. Moral risks. For loving. Her voice cracked, the teacher in her surfacing lessons on equality, now homework she couldn't grade. They sat in silence, the river's murmur a counterpoint to inner storms. Nevaeh traced patterns in the mud, sketching escapes. Austin's sprawl, where anonymity bloomed in coffee shops and galleries. Portland's rains washing slates clean. But roots ran deep. Clara's library card stamped with childhood memories. Nevaeh's blood in the soil. That evening, confrontation brewed at home. Daddy called her to the study, maps and ledgers strewn like casualties. "Sit," he commanded, voice gravel. No preamble. He slid a letter across the desk. Bank denial stamped with regretful legalese. Nevaeh scanned it, gut twisting. This is Harlan's doin'. Or the judge. He nodded, weary. World small Nevada actions echo. His eyes faded blue searched hers. What actions are yours? The question hung, demanding confession. She drew breath, the air thick. I love her, Daddy. Clara. Not as friends. More. Silence stretched, broken only by the clock's tick. His face didn't twist in horror. It softened, etched with old sorrows. Knew something was eating you. Your mama too. He leaned back, cane tapping once. Back in my day we called it sin. Buried it deep. Lost good folks to that burying. Nevaeh blinked, stunned. You? Not me. But your Uncle Tate. Lived alone, they said. Truth was, he loved a man from the oil fields. Town drove him out. He never came back. The revelation landed soft. A bridge from past to present. Tears pricked. Why tell me now? 'Cause I won't lose you to silence, girl. But the ranch. It's all we got. Duty clashed with heart, his conflict mirroring hers. Mama entered then, rosary dangling, face resolute. Heard enough. If it's truth you're livin', then live it proud. But we fight for this home too. Her embrace was fierce, scented with lavender soap. A mother's armor, cracked but unyielding. Gratitude swelled, mingled with resolve. That night Nevaeh texted Clara. Family's with us. Partially. Your turn. Clara's reply, dinner tomorrow. Full court press. The Harlan dining room gleamed under chandelier light, tension thicker than the pot roast. Judge Harlan carved meat with surgical precision. Mrs. Harlan's smiles brittle as china. Clara sat opposite Nevaeh, foot nudging hers under table, a secret Morse. We need to talk sense, the judge began, fork poised. This phase. It's hurtin' everyone. Harlan's withdrawn the complaint, but the damage. Damage. Clara interrupted, voice steel. To your reputation? What about mine? Ours. He flushed. You're my daughter. I want better for you. Better than love? Nevaeh leaned in, pulse steady. Sir, with respect, you've built walls around her. Around all of us. Mrs. Harlan gasped, hand to throat. Such presumption. From you. Clara's laugh cut sharp. From her, the woman I choose. That's presumption enough. The judge slammed his palm, silverware jumping. Choose? You're throwing away security, future. For authenticity, Clara countered. Something your ledgers can't buy. Nevaeh added. We're planning ahead. Jobs in Austin. A life. The word Austin ignited fury. Over my dead body. You'll not drag her into poverty. Poverty. Nevaeh's temper flared. Wealth ain't happiness, Judge. You know that better than most. Silence fell, charged. Mrs. Harlan broke it, voice small. Clara. Are you happy? Clara met her gaze, tears brimming. Yes, Mama. For the first time. The judge rose, chair scraping. Out. Both of you. Don't come back till you see reason. They left to Cricket's chorus, the doors click final. In the truck, Clara dissolved, sobs racking. Lost them. Nevaeh drove to the ridge, stars and different witnesses. Gained us. That start. But dawn brought escalation. At the co-op, Nevaeh found tires slashed on her truck. A note tucked under wiper. Sinners repent. Anonymous, but Harlan's scrawl unmistakable. She reported it. Deputy sympathetic but slow. Small-town justice bent by influence. Clara faced worse. Pink slip from school. Mutual parting veiled in policy. Rage simmered as they packed Clara's apartment that afternoon. Boxes labeled with fragile hopes. Books, linens, a photo of the river. We'll rebuild, Nevaeh vowed, taping a seam. Clara nodded, but shadows lingered. What if they follow? What if Monroe follows us? Then we outrun it. But doubt crept, the town's tendrils long. Evening brought Juliet, arms laden with casseroles, a sister's siege supply. Heard about the tires. Bastards. Over coffee she mapped allies. The librarian who'd lost a brother to similar exile. The diner owner with a rainbow pin hidden in her register. Grateful, Nevaeh said, hugging tight. Didn't expect this from you. Juliet shrugged. Family's blood. And love? That's rarer. Her wink held mischief, a crack in her facade. Night fell, and they lay in Clara's bed, last time in that space. Lovemaking was tender, urgent. A sealing of pacts. Promise me, Clara whispered, fingers in Nevaeh's hair. No more hiding. Promise. But sleep brought dreams of pursuit. Headlights in rearview, whispers chasing like hounds. Morning mail delivered ultimatum. Judge's letter, disinheritance formal, cold as contract. Clara read it aloud, voice numb. He's serious. Nevaeh crumpled it. So are we. They loaded the truck under watchful eyes, neighbors peeking curtains, judgments veiled. As they pulled away, Monroe shrank in mirror. Church spire a needle, fields a farewell wave. Highway stretched north, Austin's promise hazy. Radio crooned old country, twang of lost loves. Clara's hand in Nevaeh's steady. Free, she breathed. Nevaeh glanced over, heart full. Almost. But freedom's road twisted, and shadows lengthened behind. Austin's skyline pierced the horizon like jagged hope, concrete and glass refracting the late sun as Nevaeh navigated traffic-clogged streets. 2 weeks in a cramped motel had given way to this. A one-bedroom walk-up in East Austin. Rent scraped from savings and temp gigs. Nevaeh hauling at a warehouse, Clara subbing at underfunded schools. The city pulsed with anonymity, a bomb after Monroe's scrutiny, but adjustment chafed like new boots. Their first night unpacked, they christened the space with takeout tacos on the fire escape, skyline twinkling like conspirators. To us, Clara toasted with a plastic cup of cheap Merlot, her smile tentative but true. Nevaeh clinked, savoring the normalcy. No peeking over shoulders, no coded texts. To not running anymore. But even here echoes lingered. A wrong number call from Juliet, voice thick with news. Daddy's worse. Come home. And Clara's nightmares, jolting awake with cries of Daddy, please. Workdays blurred. Nevaeh's muscles ached from crates, dust caking her pores, but the warehouse foreman's gruff good hustle felt like victory. Clara's subs gleamed with potential. Kids with stories mirroring theirs, eyes wide at her tales of resilience. Evenings wove them closer. Cooking mishaps in the tiny kitchen, slow dances to radio jazz, bodies mapping futures untethered. Yet cracks spidered. A letter arrived, forwarded from Monroe. Harlan's scrawl venomous. You stole her. But she'll see, the grass ain't greener with trash like you. Nevaeh burned it in the sink, flame-licking paper, but ash lingered in her throat. Clara found her staring at the stove. Let it go, Nevada. Trying. She pulled Clara close, but tension hummed a low wire. Weekends offered reprieve. Markets teeming with rainbow flags, coffee shops where couples like them drew no stares. At a bookstore reading Clara's Find, a queer anthology, they lingered, fingers laced openly. This is it, Clara murmured, inhaling ink and possibility. Our Absalom. Nevaeh nodded, but wanderlust stirred. Portland whispers or Seattle's fog. Stability beckoned too. A job lead at a co-op farm on the outskirts, echoing home without chains. Then betrayal struck, swift as a rattler. Clara's phone buzzed during dinner, screen lighting her face. It's Mama, she answered, voice softening to please, then hardening. No, I won't come back alone. Tell him that. Nevaeh waited, fork idle. What now? Clara's eyes welled. Daddy's offer. Come home, end this mistake. And he'll forgive. Pay for my masters even. The words dangled, temptation laced with poison. Nevaeh's chest tightened. And me? The mistake. Clara recoiled. No. God, no. But doubt flickered. Monroe's pull, the judge's empire. A safety net frayed but familiar. They argued into night, voices rising over the hum of traffic below. It's not about choosing, Clara insisted, pacing the rug. It's family. He's sick, Nevada. Like your daddy. And we're not. Nevaeh shot back, hurt sharpening her tone. We left everything. For this. Clara stopped, tears tracking. Maybe it's too much. Maybe I dragged you. Stop. Nevaeh cupped her face, thumbs wiping salt. We chose. Together. Reconciliation came in sheets, bodies bridging words' failures. But seed planted resentment's root. Days later, fracture widened. Nevaeh came home early, warehouse shift cut, to find Clara on the couch. Laptop open to Monroe Real Estate. Harlan Homes pristine and promising. Just looking, Clara said, closing the tab too quick. Hypothetical. The lie stung deeper than Harlan's note. Hypothetical like going back? Clara flushed. It's not, I miss them. The ease. Ease built on lies. Nevaeh's voice broke the barn's echo. I can't hide. Now a hollow taunt. Clara stood, defiant. And this? Scraping by, wondering if we'll make rent? That's truth. The door slam punctuated. Nevaeh storming to the fire escape. City lights blurring through tears. Betrayal wasn't fists or notes. It was this. The slow erosion of resolve, Monroe's gravity reclaiming. Juliet's call that night pulled her back. Nev? You sound wrecked. She spilled, words tumbling. She's wavering, Jules. Like it was all for nothing. Her sister's sigh carried miles. Love's not linear, sis. It storms. Ride it out. But riding felt like drowning. Next morning, Clara apologized over burnt toast. I panicked. Won't happen again. Nevaeh nodded, but trust bruised, a limp in their step. Escalation came via courier. Judge Harlan's summons, legal paper crisp. Not dissonment, mediation. For Clara's sake, it read. One meeting. No tricks. Clara stared at it, torn. We go. Show strength. Nevaeh agreed, stealing for ambush. The drive to Monroe stretched eternal. Highway hypnosis yielding to familiar turns. Fields rolled unchanged, a taunt. The judge's office loomed courthouse adjacent, mahogany and menace. He sat behind desk alone, no Harlan, no spouse. Sit, he said, almost civil. Clara perched, Nevaeh beside. What is this, Daddy? Reality. He slid photos across. Nevaeh's truck tires slashed. Clara's car keyed in Austin lot, homewrecker etched deep. Your doing? Or his? Clara paled. Harlan. The judge nodded. I warned him off. But he's unhinged. And the town's turning. Boycotts at your old co-op. Whispers about your family, Nevaeh. Guilt knifed. We didn't ask for. You did. His eyes bored. By defying order. Now end it. Clara Comazoma. You. Fade. Clara's laugh was shards. Fade? Like a mistake. For peace. He softened, paternal mask slipping. I love you, girl. More than pride. Tears fell. Love me enough to let me live? He looked away, defeated. Go. But know the cost. Outside, rain threatened, sky mirroring turmoil. In the car, Clara wept. He admitted it. Harlan's stalking us. Nevaeh gripped the wheel. We file. Restraining order. But fear rooted Monroe's shadow long. Back in Austin they fortified. Locks changed, routes varied. Nights brought vigilance. Clara's hand seeking Nevaeh's in dark. Betrayal deepened when Clara's phone lit with Harlan's text. Saw you today. Looking good. Miss me? Screenshot sent to police, but dread lingered. Nevaeh confronted her own fracture. A job offer back home, Juliet pleading. Daddy needs you. Ranches slip and dot. Duty called, siren song. One night over wine it erupted. If I went back, Clara ventured. Just to see Mama. Nevaeh's glass shattered on tile. See? Or stay. Clara recoiled. Trust me, damn it. Trust? After the houses? The summons. Words flew, wounds reopened. Clara grabbed her bag. I need air. Door closed soft but final. Hours passed. Nevaeh paced, panic rising. Midnight brought pounding, neighbors complaining noise. No Clara. Dawn broke without her. Nevaeh's call went to voicemail. Come home. Please. By noon Juliet rang. Clara's here. With the judge. Says it's over. The world tilted. Betrayal's blade twisted full. Not Harlan's rage, but Clara's retreat to safety's arms. Nevaeh drove, numb, Monroe swallowing her whole. At the estate, Clara waited on steps, suitcase packed but eyes hollow. I couldn't, Nevada. The fear. It's eating us. You chose them. Voice ash. Clara sobbed. Chose survival. Forgive. No. Nevaeh turned, truck engine roar, drowning please. Highway blurred through tears, heart in shards. Tanvio, the storm's echo, now internal hurricane. The drive back to Austin stretched into eternity, rain lashing the windshield like accusations, each drop a reminder of the barn's fragile vows. Nevaeh gripped the wheel white-knuckled, radio silenced, the hum of tires a dirge for what shattered. Clara's face haunted, pale, pleading, a ghost of the woman who'd stormed thunder with, I can't hide anymore. Now hidden again, folded into Monroe's unyielding fold. The apartment greeted empty, Clara's side stripped. Half the closet bare, bookshelves lopsided, the fire escape photo crooked without her touch. Nevaeh sank to the floor, back against door, sobs racking until exhaustion claimed her. Dreams came merciless. The river's embrace turning to chains, Clara's hand slipping from hers into Harlan's grasp. Morning light filtered gray, coffee bitter on her tongue. Texts from Juliet piled, she's a fool. Come home. We need you. Nevaeh ignored, dialing work instead. Warehouse shift, body moving on autopilot, crates stacked like walls against grief. Days bled into weeks, a numb routine. Dawn runs through Austin's waking streets, sweat purging but not cleansing. Evenings at dive bars, nursing beers while couples laughed, their ease a knife twist. She avoided queer spaces at first, too raw mirrors to loss. Then sought them, solace in stories swapped over pool tables. Exes who fled, loves reclaimed. One night at a poetry slam in a converted warehouse, words pierced. A woman reciting of betrayals born of fear. The heart's quiet coup. Nevaeh approached after voice tentative. Hit close. Mine just. Folded. The poet Lena, tattoos curling like vines, eyes kind, nodded. They do. Till you fold back stronger. Conversation flowed to coffee the next week. Then walks along Lady Bird Lake, where willows whispered permission to heal. Lena didn't push. She shared her own scars, a southern transplant, family disavowed but self-forged. Monroe, she guessed from Nevaeh's drawl. Close enough. Laughter came first tentative then free, a muscle long atrophied. Clara's absence echoed. A scarf forgotten in drawer, lavender faint. Voicemails deleted unheard. Rumors trickled via Juliet. Clara teaching again, Harlan circling like a vulture. The judge's pride mended with fresh scandals. Nevaeh's ranch call came mid-October, Daddy's voice frail. Need you, girl. Winter's comin'. Can't manage alone. Duty tugged but Austin held. The co-op job landed. Soil under nails, a bridge to home without surrender. She visited Monroe for Thanksgiving. Juliet's brewed a buffer, Mama's hugs fierce. Daddy pulled her aside, eyes clear despite pain. Heard about Clara. Hurts but you're bloom here. Don't wither for ghosts. Gratitude choked. Trying not to. Clara's glimpse came accidental. At the diner, her truck in lot. Nevaeh detoured, heart pounding, peering through window. Clara with parents, smile pasted. Harlan absent but shadow long. Their eyes met across glass. Clara's widened, hand half raised. Nevaeh turned away, door chime mocking as she fled. Back in Austin, catharsis brewed. Lena invited her to a support circle. Queer Southerners, accents thick with tales of exile. Stories circled. A mechanic from Georgia, disowned but driving cross-country. A nurse from Alabama, stitching wounds visible and not. Nevaeh spoke halting then fluid, the barn, the storm, the break. She chose safe. I chose me. Applause rippled, not pity, affirmation. That's awakening, the facilitator said. Humanity's not in perfection. It's in the choosing. Winter deepened, Nevaeh's life threading new patterns. Community garden plots where she taught kids to plant. Hands in earth healing her own. Open mics where she penned verses of storms survived, voice gaining strength. Lena became anchor, not replacement. Kisses tentative, building slow. A testament to time's grace. Spring brought reckoning. A package arrived, no return. Clara's journal, pages filled with their story. River sketches, barn confessions, Austin dreams. Last entry, I hid again. Forgive my cowardice. Live loud for us both. Tears fell but not despair release. Nevaeh wrote back, not sent. Forgiven. But I'm not waiting. I'm walking. Juliet's call confirmed. Clara left Harlan pre-altar, fled to Dallas for grad school. Set to tell you the storm passed. She sees clear now. Nevaeh smiled, sun warm on porch. Good. So do I. Summer solstice, Austin's Hida embrace. Nevaeh stood at the co-op's edge, field stretching like promise. Lena beside, hand laced. Friends gathered for potluck, laughter free. No hiding, banners fluttered, rainbows woven in fences. The town that birthed her faded, not forgotten. A scar, not shackle. Monroe's maw had chewed but not consumed. She'd emerged whole human. In quiet moments, Nevaeh whispered to Wind, we were alone once. Now we're legion. The message lingered for Clara, for kin, for worlds remade. Love defies not by force but by quiet, unyielding bloom. Freedom's not escape. It's arrival, one dawn at a time.